I've been making these sills for about 23 years. As with everything I make, I try to get every detail as accurate as possible. I have an original panel which I constantly refer back to, even though I have jigs, patterns and tooling. There are about 23 separate operations needed to make these sills. There may be several steps in each operation. For example, there are 5 elongated holes on the top of each sill, but that is only one operation. Each detail of any panel is important for its fit and authenticity. The various areas of the sills are formed, worked and then reworked, so that I can achieve a well-made panel that not only fits but looks correct. Most of the work I do is creating one-off panels and bodies, but making batches can make panels more economical and therefore viable. Because I make small batches of these panels, I have press tools for reproducing some details, while other areas are hand-formed over jigs. I made this tool about 23 years ago and I have made thousands of sills on it since then. Since the last video I've done quite a bit of work on the Bristol and the Bantam Jeep. Here I'm adding metal to the flange of the Bristol boot so I'll be able to get the gaps as perfect as possible. The welding method I use leaves a joint that doesn't need any grinding. Tacking is fast and easy with no clamps needed at all. This piece of footage is sped up, but this method of welding is the fastest way of joining panels, and because there is very little distortion and no grinding, it saves time when metal finishing the repair. Here is the underside and top side of the weld. The joint is the same thickness as the parent metal and can be treated in exactly the same way as the rest of the panel. It can be planished, wheeled and even cut with snips. This method can be done with both gas and TIG and is just one of the many things I show on my DVD. I'll leave a link to the DVD below. I've been making quite a few bits of tooling since my last video as well. I often make header tanks and other parts for radiators for vintage cars. This is a kit of parts for a radiator that I created in a batch a few months ago. This week I had to make up one of the kits. This involved forming and welding this bottom inlet pipe. There's quite a bit of work involved in just this one part. The header tank and bottom tank were welded and then hand finished, and the many other parts were copied from the original and reproduced. I managed to get a couple of days in on my car, got a bit done, including mounting the steering box, pedals and rear shocks. We also got the engine running again. I finished the SS100 radiator shell that I was making in my last video. Once the main shell was made, I punched the holes, made all the other parts needed like the insert, soldered everything together, and I find soldering can be a bit of a challenge. The most challenging part about soldering this is to end up with something that looks flat. Because as soon as that fold is put in the middle, it curves in all directions. I give the shells a light polish so I can see any blemishes. Once finished, they're ready for polishing properly and chrome plating. This is the third one of these I've made in 4 months. This is one of those jobs I've been trying to get around to for years. I needed to be able to see where I'm actually guillotining because this guard prevents you from cutting your fingers off, also prevents you from being able to see what on earth you're trying to guillotine. So I created this light. So I bought some LED strip lights, created this little shade for it. It simply clips onto the guard like that. And now I can see clear as day what I'm trying to guillotine.